Welcome to my tongue tie release journey. Hi everybody. I had an adult tongue tie release 7 months ago, and before I go into that, I want to give a disclaimer that if you notice I'm talking with a little bit of a lisp and a little bit of weirdness going on, it has nothing to do with my tongue tie. I went on to do TMJ treatment. I'm going to do expansion. So I have an orthotic in, which takes up a little space from my tongue and makes me talk kind of funny. It also has a little bit of a hole in the front of it, which gives me a little bit of a lisp. And I'm starting expansion next week, so I have spacers in, which also is giving me a tiny little bit of a lisp. So don't worry about that. That has nothing to do with my tongue tie. Now, on to the story. I have had TMJ for 30 years, and I was looking to get it treated, maybe get straighter teeth without making it worse, which I was afraid of. And I was reading about palate expansion. I found out that if you do palate expansion and braces, you want to make sure you have proper tongue position and proper swallowing to be able to support your expansion or your orthodontia after it's done and not have a relapse. So I didn't know if I had a tongue tie. I didn't think I did. But I went to a myofunctional therapist and she said that I did. And I believe she said it was like a type 4, but I had really good compensation. So it looked like a type 2, but it was worse than what it looked because it's a posterior tongue tie and those aren't easy to see. I wanted to do the myofunctional therapy for sure, so I told her I would decide later on the tongue tie release, and she said I should know by week 5 if I think I need a release. So I started doing the exercises, and I'm a singer in a band, and it was easier to sing doing these exercises because I was working my tongue out and building some new muscle. And lo and behold, when I got to week 5, I was singing a song, a high, difficult song, and the exercises at that time were targeting the more posterior muscles of the tongue down at the floor of the mouth and where it connects here under your jaw. While I was singing this song, I pulled a muscle at the base of my tongue, I believe, where it connects to the jaw. And it hurt down here. And I turned around on stage and I'm rubbing and I'm nervous. What did I do? And I finished the night out. I sang really gently the rest of the night, and the pain lasted about 2 hours. And I knew I pulled a muscle, and I decided, okay, I'm going to do the tongue tie release. I already knew a little bit about tongue tie releases. I knew about Dr. Zaghi. I had seen his videos on YouTube, and they made sense to me. And I had already decided that I really only wanted it to be done in that way. I wanted stitches. I didn't want the open wound and the stretching and the keeping it open and all that. So my myofunctional therapist told me day one that the dentist she works with, her preferred provider, did train under Dr. Zaghi. And this is a dentist, my provider is a dentist who is an oral surgeon. But he runs a biologic dentist office, and he was very close to me, and I completely lucked out because I wanted it done the Zaghi way, and there he was. So I was very, very nervous, and I wasn't sure that it would help me. As far as symptoms go, TMJ popping for 30 years, and I didn't think it would help that at all because I have a very crooked or a very pushed in maxilla. I'll show you. My teeth are pushed in on top. They should be out. And that was keeping my mandible locked backwards. And I knew that releasing the tongue tie would not allow my mandible to come forward at all because it was locked back by my maxilla. I was also having, for about 5 years, a lot of neck pain here. I was having some popping here when I swallowed. I think it was my hyoid bone. When I would try to work on good posture, and holding my head up and straight and my shoulders back, it would shoot pain down the right side of my back into my shoulder blade. So I couldn't sit up properly. I would always hunch over to avoid the strain on my shoulder muscles, which was making my forward head posture worse and my posture worse. I was getting migraines I was getting them once a month. I changed my birth control pill to continuous, and I was getting them about once every 3 months. I was getting headaches in between that. Well, actually, if I got a headache, it would immediately turn into a migraine, pretty much. But the migraines usually lasted for 3 days. What else? A lot of tightness in my neck here, all these muscles. Although this side was working a lot harder than this side. If I would try to engage these muscles, they would engage here and not here. So very imbalanced muscles. So I wasn't sure this tongue tie release would help, but, and as far as mobility to the tongue, you're supposed to be able to touch the spot. The spot is right behind your top front teeth. When you say the tip of your tongue should be behind your front top teeth, not touching your teeth. I had no problem keeping my tongue up on the roof of my mouth because I had good mobility. But if I opened my mouth all the way, you're supposed to be able to touch the spot with the tip of your tongue. And I could only make it maybe 60% of the way there. It was going about that far. I had good suction. And yeah, I didn't know if it would help. I had it done in July, 7 months ago, and I'm so happy that I did it. I was so scared. I had a complete panic attack the day before. I had the scalpel and stitches method, and I also had my central upper and lower lip ties done, as well as all my buccal ties. All this was done at once. And I was swollen for 6 days. I couldn't talk at all for 4 days. I was just mumbling. I couldn't eat because I couldn't move food around with my tongue inside my mouth. The lips were more painful than the tongue. The tongue did not hurt at all. It was just very swollen. So I really had to stay on top of anti-inflammatories. Day 6, my stitches came out. I think they were all out by day 6. And I was instructed by my myofunctional therapist, who was there for my procedure, by the way, which I also wanted. She instructed me to start stretching as soon as I possibly could. And she told me, you're not going to be able to stretch at all on day 1, which is true. I would try and I would go, I couldn't do anything. But I would do a little bit every single day. Some people are told not to stretch at all with stitches, but that's not how I was instructed. I was instructed, you got to get moving as soon as you can. You won't be able to at first, but try. Don't try too hard. Don't pop your stitches. Try a little bit. And every day it'll get better. So by day 6, I could speak properly. And by day 9 was my first gig back with my band. I took it easy, but I could sing fine. I didn't sing hard on my higher songs. I didn't feel a very quick release in tension. I did feel while I was in the chair, I felt some weird pain in my back. I didn't know if it was a release happening because he was snipping, or if it was just a pain in my back because I was sitting in a dental chair. But I did notice, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks after the release, that, or maybe 1 even, I could sit up straight and hold my head up high and not have that shooting pain down my back anymore, which was the biggest gift that I could have hoped for, other than magically curing my TMJ, which I knew it wouldn't do. Now I can stand up straight. I can hold my shoulders back. I can hold my head up and back in proper posture and keep working on it, because you have to keep working on it. And it doesn't hurt anymore. It's great. I'm very happy about that. I can also bend over further with less tension in my neck and shoulders. Before, when I would try to bend over, I would tense up like this, and I could bend over okay and touch my toes, but it was all tense. Now I can kind of bend over. I can keep going further than I could before, and I can have a little bit of freedom in my neck and not have it kind of stay locked while I go down. The popping in my neck, it went away, it came back a little bit, and it's been gone now. The tension in my neck is a lot better. And it's very important to do your myofunctional therapy before and after. My provider requests 4 weeks of myofunctional therapy before. He did then, and I believe now he's on 8 weeks. He will not release you until you do 8 weeks of myofunctional therapy, because the more you work out those tongue muscles and the tone, when they go in to snip you, the more the ties present themselves. They separate themselves from the, I don't know, muscle, I don't know the terminology, but I know it's easier for them to see if you're doing the myofunctional therapy. You also have to start training your tongue to work properly. And it's not going to happen magically overnight because someone snipped you. There's muscles in there that haven't worked ever, and they're not going to start working magically. You have to train them. You have to work on it every single day. And I was told after that it would take at least 6 months to know if my release was full and complete. And so there were things I couldn't do right away. After my release, I could not touch the spot with my mouth open all the way. Obviously I couldn't because of the swelling, but even 2 weeks out I couldn't. It took 2 months, and that's of daily myofunctional therapy. 2 months after my release to touch the spot with my mouth fully open. The cave open is where you suction and open as far as you can. You should be able to cave open just a few millimeters short of your spot open. So cave open and then spot open. See, it's very close. Right after my tongue tie release, I was about half of that. It was a big difference between the two. It took 6 months to get my cave open close to the amount of opening with my spot open. So it takes a long time. It's not overnight. And I had a lot better mobility than a lot of people do. Body work is also important. Before my release, I went to a chiropractor. I'm not big on chiropractors, but I found a really, really gentle one. I went to a craniosacral therapist before and after because she was the cheapest of the providers. Well, she wasn't as cheap as the chiropractor, but I liked her better than the chiropractor. I also saw an osteopath. I'll be going to her again, but I didn't go to her a lot because she was working a lot on my neck and muscles and back and hips, and it just wasn't helping because my jaw was out, because I hadn't gone into TMJ treatment yet. So that wasn't really helping me as much. I also found a massage therapist that did myofascial release massage. And she's been able to tell me that all the muscles here by my collarbone have released, or at least are much better since my release. She works on them every time. She works on all these muscles and all these attachments into the collarbone. They're always very hard to get to, hard to release. They take a while, but they're getting better. if you're interested in getting a tongue tie release, I recommend, first of all, find a myofunctional therapist. If you haven't found a provider for your tongue tie release that offers a myofunctional therapist in the office, do a search. There's 2 websites that have directories for myofunctional therapists. If there's none near you, you can do Skype. There's a lot of practitioners that do Skype consultations and sessions. Personally, I don't recommend doing YouTube videos of myofunctional therapy unless you're, I don't know, truly committed to doing it every day, because my myofunctional therapist looks at my function at every visit. She tailors my exercises to my function and to how I'm healing, and she'll change them up based on my progress. It's not a one-size-fits-all. There are exercises that, I could have done wrong and may have, I don't know if I could have hurt myself, but they wouldn't be targeting what I need to target, and she knows what needs targeted. So I personally couldn't have gotten the success I had without her guiding me, because I wouldn't have known which exercises I needed to do or when. And the exercises she gives me, I do maybe 5 a day, maybe 5 to 10 repetitions, once in the morning and once at night. It's not a lot, but I do tongue pops pretty much all day, every day, to keep it fluid. My frenulum has not gone back yet, 7 months out. I like it that way. And once I started my Tmj therapy, or treatment, I should say, my jaw stopped popping in a week, and I'll do another video about that. And if you have any questions, let me know. If I get enough, I'll do another video. And so yeah, find a myofunctional therapist. Find a provider that knows about posterior tongue ties. It's not that little string. If you have that little string, you probably have a posterior tongue tie as well, which you cannot see. You have to cut the string, you have to open the tongue out, you have to make a diamond-shaped wound to get everything that needs to be got. And it's not easy. You can't snip it yourself. You can't go to the dentist and say, could you snip that for me real quick? It's not how it works. You need conditioning, you need therapy, you need to work out that tongue muscle for months as an adult. And it's really not a simple thing.